And joining us now on Six News is Lee Hanson. She was One Nation's lead candidate for the Senate in Tasmania at the federal election, their lead representative in the state. Lee, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Leo. Appreciate you having me today.
So the most recent thing to come out of Tasmania for your party was that launch of the Bass branch over the weekend. How'd that go and what kind of numbers are you seeing?
We did. We launched our first One Nation branch in Tasmania, one of five to come over the next few months, up in Bass, which is Launceston region. And the turnout and the support was phenomenal. We had two events, our inaugural meeting, followed by a fundraiser afternoon tea, both for the new branch as well as a local charity organisation. And the turnout, as I say, across the two meetings, we had an excess of 150 people, which is fantastic considering the growth and the movement for One Nation since the federal election. So it was a fantastic event, had brilliant feedback, a lot of engaged community members seeking change and utilising their voice throughout the meeting, which was brilliant.
What kind of reasons are you hearing for people joining One Nation? Are these apolitical? Are they ex-coalition? Where are you actually, getting these new voters and members from?
All walks of life, Leo, which is brilliant. And it shows us that people are wanting change. People have lost confidence in the major parties and other minor parties as well. They do not feel that they're adequately being represented. They do not feel these other parties have strong, committed leadership in which One Nation actually offers. You certainly know where One Nation stands. We're not afraid to have the hard conversations. We don't sit on the fence and need 12 months to determine what our political stance or policy issues are. We represent the Australian people. Do you know the amount of people that have come up to me and said, I've been a traditional Liberal voter all my life, or I've been a Labor voter all my life. My eyes have been opened. I'm sorry I didn't understand what One Nation has stood for before, but I'm a lifetime voter for One Nation from here on in. How can I help? How can I get behind you? So the support is amazing. We don't take it for granted. We want to capture and utilise our membership to ensure that we hit the right areas and we can adequately represent them and be a voice for them.
Now, polls aren't everything. We know that. We know we're 2.5 years away from a federal election, and we know that sometimes they vote for estimated One Nation, but they are pretty remarkable looking at these numbers. The one out this morning, Essential, One Nation at 15% nationally. That's 6 ahead of the Greens. They're at 9. Now, that is an outlier for the Greens, but not so much for One Nation, up in just about every poll, or literally every poll, I should say, since the federal election. What I guess has been the surge here, because Labor seems pretty steady in their numbers. They've maintained their lead on both the primary and the 2PP level. It really seems to me, and I'm wondering if you'd agree, that it is just coming from the issues within the coalition, that a lot of that has kind of driven turnout towards One Nation.
Look, a lot of the lack of leadership and division in the Liberal Party, or the lack of policy stance in hitting the major issues that are really impacting everyday Australians, is a big factor why voters or the people are turning to One Nation, because we are standing up for them and we are fighting these issues. But equally, they're from all walks of life. It's not just the Liberal Party. When you think about the major issues that are tackling everyday Australians right now, we've got unsustainable and unmanaged immigration that's significantly hitting real life Australians every day. We've got housing crisis, we've got rental shortages, we've got housing unaffordability, we've got homelessness, we've got cost of living, we've got health and education, which is at breaking point as well. There are so many issues that are impacting everyday Australians. And you look at the current, whether it be the coalition or the current government Labor Party, what are they doing about it? False promises, or this gizo of net zero that's going to save the day, which is actually just putting more pressure on everyday Australians, forcing them to sleep in their cars or on the streets, closing down businesses, destroying farmers and destroying industries. So yes, One Nation is speaking up, and the people are realising that, and they're joining the party. I look at Tasmania alone since the federal election. We've had over 300% growth in membership in this state alone, which is enormous. So really proud to be launching the branches, with my next one in Lyons branch in the next 2 weeks, I believe it is.
The announcement from your party the other day, dropping Pauline Hanson's from the name Pauline Hanson's One Nation, significant because as far as your mother, Senator Hanson's, had involvement, it has had her name in the title. Can you talk to us a bit about the reasoning for that? Because we know that there's a lot of the parties have a founder name in their title. And certainly you'd think it kind of helps name recognition. It helps One Nation having it on the ballot. Why make the move to phase that out?
Look, initially, when Senator Hanson came back on board of the party nearly a decade ago, yes, it was very important to have Pauline Hanson as founder of the party in front of the One Nation brand to show that she had come back on board, and she came back on board when there was nothing. She had to rebuild it from zero, and that's what she's been doing for the last decade. We've reached a point now where the movement has grown so much and the party needs to live beyond Pauline Hanson. We have fantastic representation both in the Senate and across other state governments as well of One Nation representatives. We have, the growth in the polls, the movement and the surge in membership as well. So at some stage, Senator Hanson will retire. That's inevitable, of course. So it's bigger than Pauline Hanson now. She has a solid team. She has solid membership. And now we need to represent broader than Pauline Hanson. So it's time, basically, to put it really simply. It's time that we no longer need the Pauline Hanson so people understand when they go to the ballot paper who they're actually voting for or what that party represents. So next stage of evolution, if we put it that way.
Speaking of people coming on board, we're almost 2 weeks into the Barnaby Joyce defection rumours starting. Certainly, your party, Senator Hanson, has very much indicated happy to have him on board. He's not joined yet. Is it still something that's in the works that's possible?
We can only hope that Barnaby Joyce does come across to One Nation. It is obviously a tough decision for him to make. I suspect he's taking the time, however long that may be, to determine what the future may look like or what future he wants to take. As Senator Hanson has said to him, the door is open and he is welcome because we know he is strongly aligned on critical key issues that are impacting Australia, such as net zero and mass immigration. So absolutely, the doors are open. So we'll just have to wait and see, Leo, just like everybody else, what decision he makes, and hopefully it'll be the right one and he will join the One Nation party room.
On Tassie specifically, One Nation didn't contest the state election, weren't registered, obviously very, very short turnaround from the May election. Are you looking at state registration, though, for whenever the next one is?
Definitely looking at registering the party in the state and have currently commenced that process. So here's the thing, right? Tassie has the most bizarre registration process and different to any other state and territory in Tasmania. So if they could give you any more hoops or barriers to jump over, guess what? One Nation is faced with that. So in Tasmania, not only do you need to have a minimum number of members to register the party, but those members, or a select number of those members, 110 people, you have to submit to the Electoral Commission with signed stat decks witnessed by a JP or Commissioner of Declarations stating that they're willing to have their name and electoral address published in the newspapers across Tasmania. Now, again, no other state or territory does this. The only way to overcome this, even though it's clearly a breach of privacy law, but the Electoral Commission states that the Electoral Commission Act overrules privacy legislation, so we must follow this rule of law. The only way to overcome it is if the state parliament, the premier, were to change the act through the floor of parliament. Now, do you think he's going to do that and make it easy for One Nation to get registered in the state so we can contest? I don't think so. So look, we've begun the process. The branches have been a huge help in this, not just through the membership surge, but also those coming to our branch meetings to sign up as members and actually filling in the stat decks. So look, we're still gathering the forms and the numbers, but it won't be too far away, Leo. We'll be submitting that paperwork and I'm looking forward to getting it registered in the state so we absolutely can run in future state elections.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. When we spoke to Senator Hanson, would have been, I think, late May, also confirmed to us One Nation's looking at running in local elections. You've got those in Tasmania next year. Again, is that an area where we could see One Nation endorsed candidates contesting?
Definitely. And this will be an important part of the branches and the role that they play. So not only do we want to get registered for the state and have the branches set up to support federal elections, state elections, but we want to look to local council, local government as well. So this is definitely something we're going to explore, and it'll be a case-by-case basis as we evolve. Have we got the right candidates? Have we got the right support around those candidates? The branches will be critical to this, as I said. So yes, don't rule it out. It's coming.
On the next election, Senate-wise, you came reasonably close against Jackie Lambie at the one that just passed. She's obviously not up for another 6 years. The next kind of senator who is you think probably the most at risk is Tammy Terrell, who's up, and we assume she is recontesting. If she is kind of the direct opponent, let's say you are contesting Senate in 2028 for Taz, I guess what do you make of Senator Terrell? A lot of people don't know her. She was, of course, the second Lambie senator, but she could be the one that is the one stopping you from actually getting in. Any thoughts on Senator Terrell and kind of her position?
Look, the first thing I want to make really clear is that I will absolutely be running in the next federal election, 2028, as the One Nation Tas Senate candidate. So yes, and I will have more than 4 weeks campaigning as I did in the last election. And with the growth and support, I'm pretty confident. But look, nothing's ever guaranteed, and you need to demonstrate the community what you stand for and that you're ready to serve and act on behalf of them in a role that we all should be privileged to be within. In regards to Senator Tammy Terrell, look, I don't know her personally. I haven't met her. I do know that she was she came on board under Jackie Lambie's banner. There's been fraction there. She's obviously moved away from the party. I suppose what the most important thing is that people understand who I am, that I'm able to demonstrate the type of person I will be in representing my community. And that's my focus, not other candidates. I'll take any seat in 2028, whether it be Tammy Tyrrell's, the Liberal, the Labor, doesn't matter. Greens, let's go. I'm there to act for my community in Tasmania.
All right, well, we'll definitely keep covering One Nation in Tassie. Really appreciate your time, Lee Hanson. Thank you for joining us on 6 News.
Thanks, Leo. Appreciate it.